you're cool with being a J-Sker.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I probably am more J than Sker.
I'm going to be honest with you, Connor. I didn't think I would interview another Connor until like later on, but thank God you hopped on because I've always wanted to interview another Connor.
All right.
Especially the Connor that's
spelled the same way.
O-R, the correct way.
Yeah.
Long story short, E-R is the wrong way. I had a classmate who spelled his name C-O-N-N-A-R.
Whoa, I never seen that one.
I never have either, but I thought I wanted to get that out of the way before we started this interview.
Absolutely.
But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the 402 and Out podcast. I'm your host, Connor Wiesman, and with me today is sports radio host, podcaster. You've probably seen him at the College World Series, Creighton baseball, Creighton basketball, etc. We got Connor Happer here. Connor, thank you for giving me your time and allowing me to interview you and sharing your story.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and good to be on with another Connor.
No, absolutely. So back in college, I would say during 2021, so during that COVID series, during COVID, I'd go on Twitter all the time, and I always get tweets from Steve Sipple, Bill Bush, all these other commentators, and then your name popped up a lot, and you have that. It's still your profile pictures. You in a bucket hat with.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're on a baseball field. It looks like, and I just kept seeing your name, so I'm like, okay, this guy is a big sports avid fan, and then I saw you're a radio host for Omaha. I was in Lincoln during this time, so
yeah,
all that jazz. And then fast forward, when I started working with the Omaha Storm Chasers part time, I would see you on the field. I'm like, that guy looks so familiar. And then
just need my bucket hat, probably.
Yeah. No, that's all it was. And then a couple days or a couple weeks, it was during playoffs in 2024 when the Storm Chasers were playing against the Columbus Clippers.
Yep.
You announced your name. Or someone said your name, and I'm like, that's how I know him
There
or know
connects.
of him.
Yeah.
That it all connects. So I've known of you since 2021 during COVID, and I just want to say it's kind of like a full circle now. We're technically co-workers for a little bit, which is kind of crazy to say.
That's right.
So let's get into it. So with all that being said, you work in sports. That's your full-time job. How did you get into the sports world industry?
I wanted to be so when I played high school baseball and briefly college baseball at Southwestern Community College in Creston, Iowa, and so I played a little bit of junior college baseball, but I wanted to play. Right, that's what I wanted to do. I think that's probably how it starts for almost everybody. But I always knew I wanted to be involved in sports in some way, and so my grand idea at the time was that I wanted to be sort of similar to what you were doing with the Storm Chasers, bat boy on the field somehow. And so my idea was turf grass management, and I wanted to take care of the fields. I always loved doing it in high school. Everybody else hated doing it, right? Getting the field ready and making it look good. And I always really loved the idea of a good looking field. And so I went when I left junior college and I came to Nebraska. I went to Nebraska. I started as a turf management major in the College of Agriculture, and I found it to be incredibly difficult. It was a lot of chemistry and science, and it wasn't just, hey, here's how you make a baseball field look good. It's how does grass grow, and the real genesis of all that stuff. And I was like, I just don't know if I could get to the end point here and be where I want to be. I know I certainly could have done it. I had a buddy who was interning, I think, or maybe he was hosting a radio show at the Ticket in Lincoln. His name is Lanny Holstein, and he wanted me to. He was a good friend of mine from really throughout high school and into college. And he was writing for the Daily Nebraskan, and he was like, "Hey, come write some stories and whatever." And then, come over with us at the Ticket and intern, whatever. And I was like, okay. And so I did. And I didn't end up writing very many stories, if any, I don't think, for the Daily Nebraskan. Writing, not necessarily my thing either. But I did love being at the radio station and found a way to just get involved with the shows that were on there at the time. And kind of eventually got a show, was on in the morning with two great friends of mine, Lanny and Jake Sorensen, who's still in the morning show to this day. And we did the three of us for a while. Lanny left. It was me and Jake for a while. And then I moved to a different. So I kind of kept on doing different shows. Jake stayed in the morning, and And that was kind of the start. Learned about radio, and always really, really, really wanted to do play-by-play. So when I was put in charge of or had the ability to do some of the high school games, loved doing the high school basketball state tournament games. I mean, so much fun. High school football games weekly. I just absolutely love doing that. I view that as like the main source of energy. I love doing daily radio shows. It's really fun. You get to spread out and talk about whatever you want to talk about, which is great. But I really love doing the games and being involved with the games in some way, shape, or form. And so I did that, and kind of kept doing it. Ultimately got an opportunity to work at 1620 The Zone in Omaha, and took it because I'm an Omaha guy, and this is where I wanted to be. And fortunately enough, have gotten so many more opportunities here, which is really great. So it all started with just the want to be involved with the game somehow, and you have no idea how many jobs there are and how many people go into making a game look cool or sound cool or being a part of the team. And at the genesis of it, that's what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a part of a team. And I'm a part of a lot of teams now, which is really, really fun.
For context, how long have you been in the broadcasting game? So since your internship at 93.7 The Ticket to now?
I think that started in late 2014, somewhere around there.
So you've been doing it for 12 years now?
Yeah. I've had a daily show in the state for since the fall of 2015, Mike Riley's first year at Nebraska. And so, it's been 10 plus years I've had a daily show.
Got it. And then I just had a question that just left me. Oh yeah, you brought up play-by-play.
Yep.
So would you prefer play-by-play over radio show?
I do, but it's like I understand that the radio, doing the daily radio show leads to some of these opportunities, and you kind of have to have it and make it work and all these different things. So I love doing the daily radio show, but I really get energy from doing play-by-play and or emceeing at Creighton basketball games or at Omaha Storm Chasers games and stuff like that. It's so much fun being a part of the event. And you get to know people, and you get to get familiar with all the local names in town and become friends with them and all those different things. So I really love doing play-by-play for sure.
You've heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. In your industry, is that true?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. And so one thing always leads to another. I remember, how I sort of got into doing the emceeing stuff. I was sitting. So I first joined the Storm Chasers as a public address announcer. They said they needed a couple extra people. I think they have probably 4 or 5 people that they kind of sort through based on who's available on any given night. And so I was up there one night. I was doing a PA for the Storm Chasers game, and I looked down on the field and I was like, hey, you guys should put me out there for one game. I just want to see how I would do. And so somehow convinced him that was a good idea. And I don't think I ever did PA again after that. I was doing EMCEE, which is a lot of fun. You get to be out and meet a whole bunch of people. And people come up to me still. I haven't done many Storm Chasers games over the last couple of years, and people will still come up to me in public and say, hey, are you going to go back and do Storm Chasers games? Or and so that was really, really cool. And that, I think, that experience led to some of the stuff that I do at Creighton now. The ability to just show that I could do that. That's part of my bag, I guess, and to relate to crowds and to feel the energy and things like that. And I get to do it in front of 15,000 at Creighton games, which is an incredible honor and really, really cool. So one thing always leads to another. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
And for context, can you explain real quick what emceeing is?
Yeah. So it's you could call it a game host, depending on the situation that you're in or the type of game that you're in. Hype man, I think for Creighton volleyball, which I do as well, it's more of that. Hey, everybody get out of your seats. It's time to go. This is a big moment in the game. And so you're just a guy with a microphone who's basically the number one cheerleader, I suppose. There's that, and there's some other responsibilities that go along with it, but it's mostly just feeling out the crowd and relating to it and getting prepared for those big moments in a game where you can really affect a game. That's I take great pride in that. Like in these big moments, in whether it's a Creighton basketball game or a volleyball game, getting up. I remember last year, Creighton, Nebraska volleyball. They're playing into set 5, and they're like, "Hey, go out there and get them up. I don't care what you do. Go out there and get them going." And I don't know what I said, but it was basically just a 15-second hype speech, and then to feel everybody. It's Creighton and Nebraska fans at the game. I'm wearing Creighton gear, but it's Creighton and Nebraska fans. We're going into set 5, and I'm just saying, "Hey, everybody, like, this is it. This is set 5. This is 2 top 15 teams right here. Like, let's go," and then have people react to it. It's so cool, and that's the kind of stuff that you do it for.
Do you ever feel overstimulated with like loud noises and that you're like, "Oh no, what do I say next?" And it's
all the time, because you're dealing with stuff, and there's a bunch of, whether it's promotions inside of a game to get to certain places in an arena or in a ballpark, and then you're having people in your ear saying, "Hey, let's do this here," and that's the rush of it. That's what's so much fun. It's 2 hours where it's just like nothing else matters, and it's really, really cool. So you gotta put all your life away for those couple hours, which I love. It's a lot of fun. I love my life. We'll talk about my life, but you don't think about it for those 2 hours. You're just, this is what matters.
Let's jump back into like your radio job right now. So as you said, you're a host for 1620 AM The Zone, which is an Omaha sports radio show or radio station in Omaha, obviously. You're on from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. So how do you prepare those topics that what you and your co-host are going to talk about that day? What does the behind the scenes look like?
I'll take, I recently moved to the morning, like you said, 6 to 10. So that's over the last 3 or 4 months here. And so this will usually all happen the night before. I like to say that because you really are. You're always prepping. You're always sort of absorbing information and thinking about ways that you're going to talk about it on the show. Maybe there's a goofy angle to something, and we'll want to try to explore that road or whatever it might be, or come up with new bits and fun things to do on the show. But I usually sit down for a couple hours each night and really map it out and work hard on what I'm going to do the next day, and bounce things off my co-host and our producer as well, and put stuff on a Google Doc and share that. And they bring awesome stuff to the table too. And then when we get to the show, we don't know exactly where it's going to go. I think that's the fun of it. You have an idea, of how many minutes this segment, this topic can last, and whatever it might be. But you don't know what's going to take off until it takes off. Maybe you get a phone call about something that you didn't think that you were going to end up talking about that day. So I think that's a cool part about radio. You kind of just, it's 4 hours where you could just let it flow a little bit. And but yeah, it's hard work to prepare it. But I certainly love doing it.
Can you talk about the team that you work with currently right now? You said you have an awesome team from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Can you explain like who you work with, how you guys connect and gel with each other?
So Mike Schaefer is my co-host. The show's called Happer and Schaefer. And we became pretty good friends in Lincoln when I was there. He was covering Nebraska football recruiting. And then he was such a great radio guest over the years on all these different shows throughout the state. And then he decided that he wanted to do an hour daily show on the Ticket in Lincoln, where we just talked about recruiting. And turns out that him and I, we talked a little bit about recruiting, but we it was the Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer show, which was really, really fun. So we did that, and then we added on the last iteration of what I did at the ticket ended up being Happer and Schaefer. I think we were on from 8 to 11 or something like that every day, Monday through Friday. And so we have been good friends. And then just recently got the opportunity to work with him again. So it was an easy call to bring in Schaefer, who's automatic and instant offense on everything. It's not just Nebraska football. Of course, he knows a lot about it. He's been around it for a long time in recruiting and all those different things. But it's everything. He's got a wide range of opinions, and that's really easy to work with. And then Joey Colbert is our producer, and he does a fantastic job of keeping us on schedule and on mark. He loves mapping out schedules for things. He's always working on schedule predictions and stuff like that. He's awesome, and he's been a great addition to the show. So yeah, we got a really good team, and then all of us who work at 1620 The Zone, really well established show in the afternoon on Sportsmanlike Conduct with Josh Peterson and John Bishop, and I work with both of them really closely. And then Matt McMaster in the middays with Josh Odson, and then Nick Grimm produces the afternoon show too. All really great. I feel like we all work really great together, and it's truly it's not. You see like Barstool or whatever, it becomes like a reality show, that kind of thing. It's kind of like that. Some of the stuff that we do involves us making fun of each other and going off of our personalities, which is easy to do because I think we're all pretty, we don't take ourselves too seriously, which, we got a good crew for sure.
Out of curiosity, what time do you wake up in the morning?
5. Luckily enough, it's not that bad. I can get up at 5 and be into the station by 5:45-ish, and I've already put the finishing touches on the show and have it ready to go. So when we're plugged in, we're there at 5:45 and ready to start things.
Do you have a meal before? Because you're talking for 4 hours straight.
I don't. I have a coffee and try to drink as much water as I can, and then usually about halfway, I've been doing this thing where I've been bringing Uncrustables. And I pop those open about 8 o'clock, halfway through the show, stuff a couple Uncrustables down, and then that holds me over till lunch.
What Uncrustable flavor do you usually go for?
The purple one, the grape.
Grape, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's my go-to. I haven't had an Uncrustable in a while, though. But
they're so good. I get the big giant packs from Costco where, they come with like 30 of them or whatever.
Yeah.
I just roll through those.
So and then you said you don't eat lunch until like noon still?
Yeah, until I get home, probably about 11:30, something like that. Yeah.
It's just something like people don't think of. Like, here's this guy just yapping about sports. Has he had water? Has he had anything in his system
Thank you for saying that. Because one of my big things, I did a midday show in 2 different iterations for a long time. And the most recent one I did for 4 years. And I would see, people during the show, it's like, hey, come get lunch. And I'm like, I wish I could. I can't leave. I'm trapped inside of this. I'm not trapped, but I'm inside the studio. I want lunch. I love lunch. So yeah, thanks for saying that.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, we get to eat lunch now, which is nice.
What is the age demographic of your listeners?
25 to 54 males is the demographic that we chase, and that we grade ourselves upon. And I would say that it generally sits in there. In Nebraska, some of it just depends on the personality of the person who is hosting the show. Some shows skew a little bit younger because of the things that they talk about, and some shows skew a little bit older. We're probably in that middle range somewhere, as far as the type of people that we appeal to, but it's sports fans. They're sports fans of all ages. I love it when when women call into the show or text into the show or leave comments on the show. It's always so great because that means like at least we're appealing to someone else. Like we don't want to tailor it down too much to just make it for those people. We want to make it for everybody, and I think we do an okay job at that.
So you said you have Is that often when women actually call on the show?
Not very often that women call the show, but I do love it when it happens. And but you'll get some texts, and now we're on YouTube, and the show is streamed live, and so you never know who's going to pop in there on a daily basis.
Has there ever been like a prank where it's like someone just cussing or whatever?
Oh yeah, people cuss on the radio there for sure. That's why we got a little dump button. So we're on we're on a 7-second delay. So on the radio, obviously the FCC governs the radio. So if you say a bad word on the radio, and they hear about it, then there could be some significant fines in there. So if somebody accidentally says a bad word, we could dump it out, and you'll hear it on the radio where it just skips ahead, basically those 7 seconds, which is cool. On YouTube, it doesn't really matter. So they don't get that part skipped out. You'll hear a bad word that comes through on YouTube.
Is when you bring up like people calling on the show, do you have a crazy memory that just comes to mind right away that you can share?
I mean, not one in particular, but we do post-game Nebraska football shows. And those shows, you just never know what anyone's going to say. I mean,
win or lose.
Unfortunately, there hasn't been like a whole lot of winning. And so people get pretty angry. And you never know what people are angry about, too. That's what's cool. Like, you never know what people see, how people see it. And so that's why we have those post-game shows, to be able to sort of hear it from all different angles. And then you get a feel of where the wind's blowing and stuff like that. But man, we've had some crazy ones on Big Red Overreaction over the years, for sure, of people saying some outlandish stuff, which is good.
How has the rise of podcasting changed the way you think about your radio show?
Oh, a ton. I mean, just for example, like I said, being on YouTube, and having that stream live there, it completely changes. It's almost like a TV show every day now. We care about how it looks. We want it to look good. We want to have graphics that come along with the things that we're saying as much as we possibly can. So that's added stuff that we throw in there to make it look sharp for our video streaming audience. And then, it's always been a thing since I've been in radio of, people won't listen to the show live. They'll go back and listen to it later on podcasts. And so the way that we do it is, it's individual segments, and you could pluck out what you want. And so, we know that there's people listening that way too. I still do the show from the perspective of this is a live show and you never know where it's going to go. So it hasn't changed like fundamentally from that perspective, but we know that there will be people listening to it a day later or later on that afternoon. And it changes it a lot.
So you wouldn't say podcasting is quote unquote killing radio, right?
Oh no. I think that radio, while I don't know what the future of the terrestrial part of it is, like actually listening on the radio, I think the cool thing about what we do is that we are reacting live to things that are happening all, as the day goes along, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Like that will never go. Like that, I'd like to say that radio is almost ahead of the curve on that, right? Because people want instant reaction to stuff. How many videos do you see where it's people just reacting to stuff, and they'll pull out their phone and they say, I have an instant reaction to this, or whatever it might be. We're already there. We're already live reacting to things as they happen. So no, I think it's all together and all in one. There's different audiences for everybody, and there's different ways to go about it. But I still think this tracks today. People listen to post-game call-in shows to hear the crazy callers, and that's never going to go away, because that's the stuff that's in vogue right now. Like, people want to hear the reactions, the immediate like gut reactions to things, and that's what we try to provide on a daily basis.
Speaking about podcasts, you're on another podcast with Mitch Sherman, Locked On Nebraska, correct?
Yep.
And I know you told me this earlier. Are you on any other podcasts? Or are you like a guest on any other podcast sometimes?
Not regularly. We were doing a Creighton podcast for a while that was tied in with our station, with our, because we're the the home of Creighton athletics, but we're not doing that at the moment. So just the Locked On one daily, which is awesome. Mitch has been awesome to work with, and he's automatic, as I said about Schaefer earlier. So yeah, that's the daily one, and then guests on podcasts like these all the time.
So is it like you do your radio show, you go home, and then you work with Mitch with the Locked On podcast?
It kind of depends on what our schedules look like for any given day. Like, there will be a lot of nights, especially around this time of year, where I have a baseball game at night, or Nebraska will be playing a midweek baseball game. We'll want to wait to do our podcast until after that, or something like that. But yeah, we'll record tomorrow's podcast today, and that's kind of how we've been doing it.
What does it take to build a loyal fan base in sports radio in Nebraska?
Consistency. That's how I've always viewed it. I just think being there and talking about the things on a consistent basis that matter to people is really important, and just repetition, doing that over and over and over again. It's one of the things that I really appreciate about the Locked On show and the radio show. We're there. I mean, every single day, Monday through Friday, we have a podcast coming out, we have a radio show, and we're there. And so I just think repetition, doing it over and over again, eventually, if you're doing it well enough, people will notice. And I think we do an okay job at it. And, but I just am, maybe it's the baseball background, but I've always just been a big believer in consistency, and we try to do the same thing. And I've often said to people who ask me questions like this, like, I want people to know what I'm going to say about a given topic before I say it. I want people to know, me. If they fundamentally know me as a person, and then know some of my sports takes or how I feel about any given things, they'll probably turn on the radio thinking, oh, I can't wait to hear what he's going to say about this, because either I'm going to like it a lot, or I'm going to dislike it, or I'm going to agree with it, I'm going to disagree with it. But I kind of know which angle. Not that there can't be some surprises from one time to another, but I just think consistency is huge.
Would you say there's like competition in the Nebraska radio industry?
Definitely. Whether it be podcasts that release every day, or other personalities that put out their stuff. The cool thing, though, I think, is we all pretty well know each other, and I think for the most part we don't take ourselves too seriously, and so it's not like this fierce, rigid competition thing where we're trying to beat the other side. I'll oftentimes listen to other shows and be like, yeah, that's a good topic and a good angle to take. Like maybe I could do the same thing, or do it in a slightly different way, or my own way. But yeah, you're always listening to what other people are saying too.
How has sports radio in Nebraska evolved since you began your career?
There's less, maybe that's not even true. I was going to say there's less daily shows, but I guess that's not true. When you add all the podcasts, it's probably just less real terrestrial radio and more, live, just live shows, right? Like I think Herdat does a really good job. Damon and Ravi, who go on at the same time as us in the morning, they do an awesome job. They were on radio before. I don't view their show really as any different now that they're not on the radio, So that is a difference, but it's the same. So I think it's evolved a little bit. The Nebraska football team always has a huge impact on just the tenor and the mood around here. Since I've been on air, which I told you, fall of 2015, they've had one halfway decent season in that period of time. They've had one 9-win season in 2016, and so I think your people, it affects people. pretty deeply. Like people take Nebraska football very seriously, but since they've been so bad for so long, you can not so bad for so long, but they've been inconsistent for a while now. I guess I should say
They haven't met expectations.
They haven't met expectations. There you go. I think there's a little bit of levity that comes with it. You can poke fun because it doesn't have to be the most serious thing in the world when you talk about it. It never was going to be with me, but I think maybe the approach from a lot of people is not quite as dead on serious as maybe it used to be. And there's been some really, really tense times. And when I was getting ready to, when I was almost starting a daily radio show, like the end of the Bo Pelini era was really intense, right? That was every day. It felt like there was some new drama or something like that. And it doesn't really feel that way right now, which I think could be both a good thing and a bad thing.
I want to jump on to Twitter X. As I said when I started this episode, that's how I was introduced to you. I would see your tweets. I'm like, and you were just always on my algorithm or my For You page, whatever you call the Twitter home feed now. Do you feel like X and Twitter has like a interaction decline since Elon Musk bought it?
I don't know. I don't think so. Not from my standpoint anyway. Maybe more people know about me because I've been doing it longer now. But I think there's probably a few less people on there. But that is definitely been the place to go for news. I mean, that's where I go for my news. I don't like watch the news. I'm not sitting by my TV and watching SportsCenter every night, and not that they would have anything that applies to me anyway. And so that's where I go. That's kind of the local bubble, and you can get a good sense of what's going on from there. But I don't know that it's a whole lot different. Maybe angrier now, just because of the time that kind of we live in. But yeah, I've always viewed it as a really good tool just to, whether it's news or getting out random thoughts about food or saying that I dislike sour cream or something like that. It's a space where people can certainly voice their opinions.
Do you actually dislike sour cream?
I do. I do not like sour cream.
Dude.
I one time said that, and the responses were, those are for whatever reason, 16, us guys at 1620, the running joke is that you have to have a bad food take to work at 1620 The Zone. We all have our questionable food takes. That's for sure. That's just one of mine.
Would you say you're a picky eater?
No, I wouldn't. That's the thing. I wouldn't say that I'm a picky eater. In fact, one of my things is I don't like to alter things. I like to order things sort of like as they come, but I don't like sour cream. Like if there's a taco or a burrito or something like that, that's like the one thing where I'm like, no sour cream.
Oh, wow.
I don't like eating sour cream.
That is a weird take. I don't say it's a bad take, it's just a weird take. I haven't heard that one.
It's just a thing, yeah.
So back on social media. So obviously, as we keep talking about X, I did the X thing. X, Twitter, you're very active on that. So like Facebook, Instagram, is that more like a personal social media account for you?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I posted anything on Facebook. I probably should do more. No, I don't view that as a professional outlet for me. Instagram, probably like a combo, but I don't use it to hype up any of my stuff or anything like that. Like I don't tweet out any link or tweet. I don't send out really many links from there, but more of just like a place where it's like, hey, I'm here and doing something cool, and if anybody follows along there, great. Twitter is a little bit different. Yeah. So yeah, I would say how you described it is pretty accurate.
What about TikTok? What do you think about TikTok overall?
I love scrolling on TikTok. I just go on the For You the For You side all the time. I don't even know, I probably follow a few people on there, but I don't go to the follower, the follow tab.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even go there. I just do the For You. It's whatever I get. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny stuff on there.
No, it's hilarious, honestly, for sure. But
I haven't figured out how to. I don't have it I don't have the probably skill set to be able to pull it aside and clip out stuff. And,
Dude, I think you already do that with radio. You don't like clip out, but
Yeah.
literally, like for you, I don't know if like you can take my advice. You can throw it in the trash, or you
no,
can be like
I agree. It could be like I could really use it. I just don't have the expertise.
perfect example. You said you had a take with your sour cream. If that was that on air.
Probably.
Yeah. If you can like dig that up, find that, just as an example, find that, just clip it, delete the dead air, boom. It could get like 5 likes. You can get 100 likes.
I know.
It's the algorithm is just crazy.
No, the stuff that it feeds me sometimes is like, wait a minute, I'm seeing this video and it has 6 likes. Like, where did this come from? Why did it decide to land on my page? So yeah, you never know what people are going to see.
No. So I think you should.
I need to be probably a bigger self promoter. I am not I don't know. I don't self promote a lot, even though I am on this podcast. But that's not in my bag, I guess.
That's fair. Would you say you're more of an introvert at home?
Yeah, I mean, you talk all day and about all these different things, and sometimes you do want just home to be home, and that's it. But you can't stop it from going overlapping at least a little bit. Like my job is my life, and my life is my job, and I know that that's the case, and I want that to be the case for my, like, if I'm going to, if I go home and I'm going to Costco and I see somebody buying a whatever at Costco, like, and I think that would be funny to talk about on the air one day, that's great. I mean, I think that's a lot of fun, because people can relate to it. And then, the reverse obviously works too.
My last question about radio. Have you ever had an athlete like comment on one of your reactions or one of your statements that you said on air, or do you know of, like, it could be a legendary athlete, it could be like I don't know.
I'm not so out there with the clips and the takes and stuff like that would ever. I don't know what's landed on their feeds.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like it. I think it would be really difficult to be an athlete, especially at a place like Nebraska where people are talking about you kind of all the time, and they see these things, and it's like, I would, if it was me in their shoes, I'd be reaching out to these people like, do you guys know what you're talking about? And the answer is, of course, no. We don't know what we're talking about. But no, nothing, no like negative encounters with athletes that I can really recall.
Now, thank you for answering all those questions about your radio side. Now I want to talk about the College World Series, where Omaha, that's all you talk about for 2 weeks in June, middle of June. And as I said earlier, you're an on-field reporter. So how did you get that gig? I bet people are dying to like be on the field during that.
Oh man, it is, first of all, such an honor. So at 1620 The Zone, Westwood won the national sports carrier rights holder of the College World Series and of most of the NCAA championships. They basically farm us out, us talent at 1620 The Zone, to do their national broadcasts, at least for the preliminary games, not for the finals. And so 1620 The Zone operates and runs the College World Series broadcasts for a couple dozen affiliates across the country, which is so cool and such an honor. Like, as an Omaha guy, that's the thing. That's the one thing you want to be involved in, especially me as a baseball person. And so when I started working at 1620 The Zone, is one of the things I was immediately, excited about, the potential to do, but didn't know if it was going to have the opportunity to. And, sure enough, in 2022, the first year I was there, I think it was probably Damon Benning and Gary Sharp's recommendation that I got a couple games on the field as a sideline reporter, and then we've had some personnel changes over the years, and I just kind of consistently took that over. This year, I worked my first game in the booth with John Bishop, who I work with on Creighton baseball broadcasts every game. Got my first game in the booth last year for the Arkansas no-hitter against Murray State. and that was awesome.
How many years ago?
That was last year.
Okay.
And so this year I'll be in the booth with him a lot more.
So this will be your second year.
This will be my fifth College World Series. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah.
Okay.
This will be my fifth College World Series.
And I'm having a brain fart. Gary Sharp was unfortunately the announcer that passed away.
No, that's Greg. He was the voice of Nebraska football.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Gary had been doing the College World Series with us as our morning show host at 1620 The Zone, and he's no longer at The Zone, so I'm kind of stepping into that spot where he did the games in the booth with John, and so that's what I'll be doing a little bit more of this year.
Got it. Thank you for helping me out with that.
No, it's confusing. I get it. Yeah.
What do you have? You've been doing this for 5 years, as you said, and I'm going to ask you probably the same question I did previously. Do you have when you think about working the College World Series, do you have a certain fan moment, athlete interaction, or a favorite moment that you were a part of?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of great games, especially over the last few years. I mean, everybody remembers the Paul Skeens and Rhett Lauder game from 2023, Wake Forest and LSU. That was cool. I actually don't know if I was working that or if I was just there that night. I might have been off for that game for whatever reason. But to be able to talk to those guys after they pitched the game of their lives or hit a walk-off home run is so cool. I have so many pictures in my phone, and then those guys end up being major leaguers. But you don't know it at the time. Like, you have an idea that Jack Caglione is going to be a major leaguer one day, and then but you don't really think about that in the moment. So we got to know Jack. He was in the College World Series twice in his time at Florida. So talked to him several times. Kate Horton, who pitches for the Cubs, was pitching for Oklahoma my first year in 2022. Skeens. Lauder, and I mean, there's probably a couple dozen big leaguers now that just in these first 4 years that I've done College World Series, which is so crazy to think about, and it's so much fun. So yeah, after games, it's great, and really it's so easy because all you have to do is say, how do you feel? And they'll be overcome with emotion or whatever it is, and some guys handle it differently, but mostly you're just struck by those guys and how much they love being with their teammates and stuff like that. So that's been such a joy to do.
How does working in the College World Series differ from working with the Omaha Storm Chasers at Warner Park?
Well, at Warner, I'm just the on-field MC guy, right? So I'm talking to the crowd. I'm talking to the people in the stands. In the College World Series, yes, I'm on the field, but I'm on the radio, right? So I'm really, occasionally there's been a time or two where I've gone into the crowd to get actually more than a time or two. Like, part of the College World Series is there will be various people who represent whichever fan base, football coaches from that school or basketball coaches from that school that, hey, they're up in the suite today, so go up there and talk to them. I remember, I think the first year I was doing it, 2022, Texas A&M was in it, and Buzz Williams was there. He was the coach of Texas A&M basketball at the time. And so I went upstairs and had a good interview with him. And during the interview, Texas A&M had hit a home run, and he basically called it, on the air for us. It was the same thing with Eric Church, the country star. He was in town rooting for North Carolina, not last year, but 2 years ago, I think. Maybe it was last year. And he was talking about how he loved baseball and baseball on the radio in particular. So I was like, here you go, man. Like, call it, So I gave him the microphone, and he got to say whatever he wanted on a couple pitches and stuff like that. So that was really, really fun. And but yeah, that's a completely different job, and for a variety of different reasons. The intensity is so much different, but then the audience that you're actually talking to is completely different too.
Have you ever interacted with Livy Dunn when she was in Omaha?
Yeah. So the first year when her and Skeens weren't dating yet. She was in town. Our Gary, our sideline reporter at the time, got her for an interview. That was a challenge because she had a lot of hoops that you had to jump through in order to get her. And then last year she was here just rooting on LSU, and Skeens came for a day. Skeens came because they had an off day in Detroit or something like that, and so he showed up for a day, and they sat right down in that first row in that first section. That's basically where I stand, where kind of my home base is throughout the game. So, you never know if those people want to some people don't want to make a scene and like broadcast the fact that they're at the College World Series, and some people do. And so, get to just interact with those people is really, really fun.
Did you work the Paul Skeens Storm Chasers game when he was in AAA for like 2 or 3 weeks, and one of those weeks he was in Omaha?
No, but I remember watching it while I was in studio doing the show, and then I want to say it was either that night or the night before. I was doing a Creighton baseball game, and him and Livy, they came to the Creighton baseball game. Nobody knew it. And somebody came into our booth and they were like, "Hey, Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn are right over there." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "Yeah, Skeens in town pitching for Indianapolis. They just wanted to come down to the home of the College World Series, and there was a baseball game going on." So they went. That's right. That's Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn went to a Creighton baseball game in April one year. It was fun.
I keep forgetting that Creighton baseball, they play at the College World Series as their home stadium.
Yep.
So how long have you been working Creighton baseball?
Same amount of time. I started doing games sort of off and on in 2022, and then more consistently, I've done every game for the last 2 years.
I'm assuming that. Can you explain the Creighton baseball atmosphere? When
it's
they have
different.
Home games? Yeah.
It's very different. I mean, it's there's not as many people. When they play Nebraska, obviously they'll get a good crowd, and I'm sure they will in a couple weeks when they play in early May. But yeah, it's very different. But Creighton baseball is so fun. They've been so good to me. I've gotten to know the coaching staff and the players really well, and so I feel like I can go in there and kind of just be a part of the team. Which that's what I said earlier. I just really like being a part of a team, and so they make me feel like I'm at home. That's what Creighton has done, overall for me. And so knowing those people and feeling like you can ask them anything, and they have the confidence in me and us to be able to sort of tell their stories, and that's been so much fun. But that starts with relationships. You got to know people.
So do you do play-by-play specifically for Creighton baseball?
Yeah, me and John Bishop were. So John is the play-by-play guy, but we switch off innings, so we'll both do both on a given night.
Got it. And then I talked about Paul Skeens. I want to bring up Jack Caglione. You said he came to the College World Series twice, and then he gets signed by the Royals and played with the Omaha Storm Chasers. So what was that like, seeing him, like as you said, playing at Florida, and then he's back again in Omaha, but for the Storm Chasers?
It's so cool because it's always such a different context. That's happened a couple times where guys end up coming back to Omaha, whether it's a member of the Storm Chasers or a visitor at Werner Park. And those guys, like they don't really know where they are in proximity to where the College World Series was, and it's a completely different thing. But it's always so cool to see them in that light as they're getting ready to be big leaguers, and the changes. It's a different thing to be from being a college baseball star to trying to turn yourself into a professional and a major leaguer. And so we've seen slowly, I think, that evolution from Jack. I'm a Royals fan, so I was incredibly happy that they drafted Cags, that was cool to have the couple encounters with him when he was here.
Random question: you remember Ryan Fitzgerald, right?
Yeah.
Was he playing at Creighton when you were working those games?
He was not. So I only know him from. I mean, I knew of him when he was at Creighton, but I only was ever close with him his time at the Storm Chasers.
All right. For context, Ryan Fitzgerald, he was a Creighton alumni baseball player, and then he played with the Storm Chasers for a little bit, and then he got traded to Minnesota, debuted with the Minnesota Wild Twins, brain fart, and now he's with the AAA team for the Dodgers, I believe.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering where he ended up.
No, I was wondering if he was playing college baseball when you were announcing those baseball games
No,
back in the day.
he would have been there probably ending in, I don't know, maybe right before COVID, somewhere around there, or maybe even earlier than that. So no, I wasn't with Creighton at the time.
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Yep.
And then Creighton basketball at CHI Health Center. I went to the season opener in 2024. We played against, I don't know if it was Santa Barbara or UCSB. Oh yeah, Santa Barbara.
UTRGV. Was it that one?
Yeah, where we actually almost lost.
Kalkbrenner had 50, right? Or 49 or
40.
something?
Yeah. I thought it was, 30, 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the reason why we won the game. I went to that season opener and I saw you emceeing. I'm like, no way, this guy is literally everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So
I get that a lot.
So what's it like being an MC or doing play-by-play at CHI?
I've always loved Creighton basketball. I went to Creighton basketball camps as a kid, and I've just always been a Creighton basketball fan. And I always thought that just growing up in Omaha, that was kind of just a part of it. And so I've always loved the team. And so working at the Zone and having the ability to at least get familiar with those people. I started as doing. They had this cool idea a couple of years ago. It's called Jay's Live. And that's what it is now. It's basically a pregame show, a 2 or 3 minute pregame show inside of the arena where I get a little desk and I'm like, hey, I'm on camera and I say, hey, here's some of the things you need to watch out for today. It's a quick preview. Rob Anderson, the Creighton SID, asked me if I wanted to do that, probably whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago now. And I think it was probably partly his idea to put me there, and partly Joe Willman, who works at Creighton. He's their director of broadcast services, who is incredible. And so they came up with that cool idea, and I did that only for the first year. And then they asked me if I was interested in doing that along with being the MC, and I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Anything that I could do to help Creighton basketball is that speaks to me. Like that's what I always wanted. If I can't play for Creighton basketball, which I was never going to be able to play for Creighton basketball, I want to be involved with the team in some way, shape, or form, and that's my avenue in. So it's been so cool to be a part of that and be familiar with the team and the players and the coaches, and they're all so great, and they ask you about your life, and it's a really cool small family. And so to see what it is on game day when it doesn't seem very small, and there's 15,000 people or 17,000 and 18,000 people, and they're rocking it, and it's a really good embodiment of Omaha. I'm so proud to be able to do that.
I want to ask, have you ever worked a UConn Creighton game at CHI?
So the UConn, the number one game where Creighton won, what was it now, 3 years ago, and they stormed the court and all that stuff. I was not there that night because I was doing PA for Nebraska women's basketball, which I do, and the conflict worked out right. Was there that night, and so I was not there for that one. I was there for the Kansas game, and then the other UConn games I have been there for. So yes, being in close proximity with Dan Hurley is a lot of fun.
I was going to ask about that. When you say, so when you're in proximity, do you interview him, or are you just
no,
around him? Okay.
He's just there, and you just kind of watch him, right? He's really magnetic, and you watch how he operates and the things he gets mad at, and the things that he's doing to, get under people's skin and bother officials and stuff like that. And then so very clearly he loves playing into the crowd, right? So that's, what was it, 2 years ago when he did the 2 rings baldy thing. Mm-hmm. I was, probably 10 feet away from him when he was looking up to the crowd doing that. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great character for college basketball. Obviously, he's an incredible coach. And the thing that always struck me, him and Greg McDermott, the now former coach at Creighton, they're so fundamentally different. It just appears on surface, but they were such good friends. They bonded over basketball, and they just go about it in different ways. So yeah, Hurley is quite the character.
It's crazy how we can both agree that Dan Hurley is the most popular college basketball coach right now, and his kryptonite was Greg McDermott.
Yeah. 10-4, I think. 10-4 against him.
Yeah, and then his last game ever, or Greg's last game playing UConn at UConn, upset them.
Unbelievable. This year with that team, somehow we're able to go in there and win that game. So yeah, he had the best of them. That's for sure.
So since Creighton played at the Crown tournament, right? Do you fly down for that, or do you just stay here?
Fortunately, I was there, and I got to do games on the radio with John Bishop, who's been the voice of Creighton basketball for almost 15 years, right about 15 years now, I think. We've joked, and it's actually true, that whenever Creighton goes to Vegas, which is at least once a year because they play in the Players Era invite, I'll take any opportunity to go to Vegas I can. I like going to Vegas, but I'll also hop on the radio with them, which is a lot of fun. So I went to Vegas a few weeks ago and did those 2 games and came back.
I want to get your opinion with Greg McDermott retiring and then Coach Huss coming in. How do you think Coach Huss's first year is going to go?
His first year, I'm so curious to see where it all lands. I think he's going to be really good because I think he has a lot of the same kind of qualities as Mac does and did, and that he, the Mac ended up being such a transformational leader, of people, and I think Huss has those qualities. He's developing him as a young coach, but the thing that Mac always did was he absolutely was a basketball junkie. He was always watching tape and film and coming up with new sets and stuff like that. Offensively, Huss has the same thing, and so I think they're going to be just fine. That might be a homer take, but I think they're going to be fine.
So you're cool with being a J-Sker?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I probably am more J than Skur. I probably am more J than Skur, even though I talk about Nebraska football on a daily basis. I'm more of a. I mean, I'm more tied to Creighton, certainly, with being there play-by-play or doing their baseball games and being at the basketball and volleyball arenas. I'm kind of J and less Skur these days.
So I consider myself a J-Sker. I want to get your opinion on this. My mom was a Creighton cheerleader for 4 years, and then my dad went to Nebraska. He wrestled for a year. He was a walk-on wrestler, and then quit, and then just studied architecture, got a degree in architecture. So and then I went to Nebraska. Do I have the right to say I'm a J-Sker? Because, when friends are like, oh, you can't root for both teams. Like, I could root for Nebraska the same.
You can do whatever you want. That's what I've always said. I never got it because I'm from Omaha, and that was I never. This probably offend Nebraska basketball fans, but I never thought about Nebraska basketball. I never cared about Nebraska basketball, and that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Basketball versus basketball. And so I always rooted for Creighton basketball as a kid. And if all the people around me were Nebraska football fans, and I didn't really hear many people talking about Nebraska basketball. And so I never thought it was weird until I worked in Lincoln, and they're like, wait a minute, what? You root for Creighton basketball and Nebraska football? Like, what's going on here? And I was like, yeah, I thought this was normal. I thought this is kind of just whatever. But I'm from Omaha, and maybe it's only something that people from Omaha kind of understand.
Would you consider yourself a journalist?
No, although I can put that hat on. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go around telling people I'm a journalist. But if there's questions that need to be asked in a setting, then yeah, I think it's not hard hitting journalism in the sense of these people need to know I'm not covering politics or anything like that. But it is journalism in the sense that you're documenting, occurrences, and whether it be doing games or doing a radio show, it's all for the record. It's all documenting. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I certainly don't refer to myself as one, but there's a certain aspect to it that is journalism.
So as we talked about before the interview, you've been married to your high school sweetheart for your, and then I don't know when this episode will drop. I'll talk to you about that later.
Oh, okay.
But no,
I should probably stop talking about how stuff's going to happen in
no,
weeks.
no, you're all good. You're all good. No worries, dog. No, so Friday will be, this upcoming Friday will be your 5-year wedding anniversary.
Yep.
So congratulations to that again.
Thank you.
And then you have a 1-year-old daughter, correct?
Yep.
So
almost 2.
How do you manage your time? Because, as I said, you're everywhere when it comes to Nebraska sports. You're in Lincoln, you're in Omaha. You're like omnipresent when it comes to sports.
You have to have a wife and I mean, specifically in my case, my wife is very supportive in my ambition to do all of these things. She's like, hey, if you need to go, I didn't have to go to Vegas to do the Games of the Crown. And she, sometimes I don't want to because I don't want to leave her at home with my daughter, Sophie, for days at a time. And sometimes she'll give me the kick in the butt. She'll be like, yeah, go. I mean, you want to go, so go. And I'm like, wow, that's really great. So she doesn't make me feel any sort of guilt about not being at home, which is all that I ask for. It is difficult. Like, it's difficult to balance, and I sometimes bring that guilt upon myself of like, yeah, I'm not probably home or present as much as I want to be. It's not like I'm not. I'm home every day, for the most part. But there's stuff that'll take you away for 3 or 4 days at a time, and then you have to trust that the people behind you will come through for you, and they always do. My parents live right down the street, basically. And they absolutely love hanging out with their granddaughter. So we're great to have them, and Jackie's parents are great too. So yeah, we have a really good support system, and they let me they let me do whatever I feel is necessary, which is awesome.
What's your favorite part about being a dad?
She's currently learning how to, she can almost say words, like full words, and like she could definitely understand things that we're saying. And so just like daily, it gets better and different as to what she comprehends and the stuff that she sees and hears and she absorbs. And every day is a new experience. But her we're going to get ready for bed or whatever, and she'll want to jump on top of me, and just like basically use my body as a jungle gym, and that is that is some of the best stuff ever. It doesn't sound all that enticing probably, but it is it's amazing just to see the smile on her face. I mean, it's everything. It's she'll fall and cry, and you're like, you're okay, and then she will be okay, right? Like, so they're so resilient and so smart, and so to get to see that grow on an everyday basis is the coolest thing ever.
Are you and your wife obviously going to put? I shouldn't say obviously. Are you guys planning on putting her into sports when she gets older?
I don't know. We'll let her do whatever she wants. I don't know which way she's going to go on that. I don't have a tell one way or the other. She definitely likes to be outside. She likes to do chalk on the sidewalk, and likes to throw around a ball and play around in the dirt and whatever. I hope so. I hope she does, but I'm not sure.
I could be stretching right here, but I think it'd be pretty cool. Like, say your daughter Sophie grows up, say she's a stellar basketball player, and you're doing play-by-play, and you're doing play-by-play for the high school that your daughter will be going to.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be badass.
That would be really cool. But I don't know. It's so funny because those thoughts cross your mind. You're like, oh, what is she going to be like? What is she going to do in 10 years or 15 years? And those type of thoughts like sort of go through your head a little bit. But it's every day you're just reminded to not skip ahead, and really enjoy what she's doing on a daily basis. And right now, it's not sports. She's just enjoying Moana and Frozen on the television, which is great.
Moana's a great.
I've really come to love Moana and Moana 2.
My sister grew up with Frozen.
Yeah,
and I got annoyed of it pretty fast. But Moana, I could feel like I only watched the movie like 3 times. It was probably because Frozen was just always on in my house.
It's always on, all right. Yeah, but Frozen 2, she calls Frozen Go because they sing Let It Go. And but she's, I think, wearing out of that a little bit. She's actually starting to know the characters' names and can articulate them and stuff like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So outside of that, now I want to get into my fun section where it's like I say a topic and you give me your thoughts. So my favorite baseball topic is Trevor Bauer playing in the United States again. For those who don't know, I'm gonna recap Trevor Bauer, or shorten him up here right now. He was a former Cy Young winner and MLB pitcher. He was really good back in the day, as in like the late 2010s, early 2020s. And then in summer of 2021, he was accused of a SA case. And then practically he's been blackmailed from the MLB ever since then. He's been playing baseball in Japan and Mexico. And then he just got signed by an independent team called the Long Island Ducks. And he's been, in his 2 games, he's been killing it, in my opinion.
Threw a no-hitter
on this previous Sunday. And he's announced in the press conference how he believes he's blackballed. But I really want to see him back in the MLB. I want to get your thoughts on that.
So I just wonder if he's good enough. That would be my only thing. This is without going too deep into. I don't know exactly what his standing is with Major League Baseball, but it's happened before where guys will come back around and they'll end up pitching well in that level of baseball, which is, independent ball. It's you got to really want to play an independent ball, and they'll get signed and they'll get an opportunity, and I don't know. He's probably what 30.
He's 35.
35.
I think he's turning 36 this year.
Yeah, it's tough. So he's certainly not as flamethrowing as he used to be. It just feels like he probably won't get that. Maybe somebody picks him up and puts him in the minor leagues or something like that, but I do wonder if he's good enough.
I'm going to say this. The Royals brought up Rich Hill, 45-year-old last year. He pitched 2 games, played awful, but he still played in the major leagues last season. I think Trevor Bauer could do a much better job. I can see him obviously starting in AAA, not right away in the pros, and then work his way up like Rich Hill did, and then just perform better because he's a bullpen pitcher, right? He's usually not a starting pitcher in the MLB.
Yeah, there's baggage that comes along with every signing, and you have to think about that and what kind of PR move it is and stuff. So there's more than just the pitching with Trevor Bauer. So in order to think that he's going to pitch in the major leagues again, he both has to be good enough and he has to be so good to where it's worth it for a major league team to be able to take a chance on him. And maybe that's the case, maybe that isn't, but I guess we'll see.
I would say, I know you're a Royals fan. I'm a Royals fan too. Our starting pitchers, I think, are great. I think we can use some help. I could be reaching again.
Maybe.
But, it would be a big PR move for the Royals if they were to pick him up.
It'd be uncharacteristic of them. They don't necessarily have a lot of guys with the checkered backgrounds and things like that. So that'd be different.
But hey, that's why there's other teams out there, obviously. So
yep, there's some opportunity. I wonder if he keeps pitching well in that league. What happens by the end of the season.
All right. Outside of baseball, will Nebraska men's basketball ever reach the same potential from this previous season?
Well, there's always a couple things that you're talking about. It's either it's both the regular season and kind of what you are as a team and where you're going as a program, the big picture, right? And then there's the tournament success, and it always gets woven into it, right? So will they be in the Sweet 16 with and down by 1 with a minute left to try and go to the Elite Eight again. Like, that's just hard to get there. It's hard to be the type of team that they were this year and then get the right breaks and be in that position. But I am very optimistic about Fred Hoiberg as a coach. I mean, there was a lot of conversation before they hit this run over the last 4 years now about Fred and how he wasn't doing very well, obviously. But I always thought in the back of my mind that he is a really strong coach and a leader. And so he just had to figure out the right thing that worked for him at Nebraska. So I do think that they could be a really consistent, 20-win team, 20-plus win team every year. But then you just never know where it's going to land as far as the tournament goes. I mean, Creighton had so many good teams. They were a 3 seed when they had the best player in the country, and they lost in the second round. And then there was the ongoing conversation throughout the next 5 years of can Greg McDermott do it in the tournament? And then they won, I think it's 11 tournament games in the last 4 years or something like that. They went to Elite Eight and went to 3 Sweet 16s. And sometimes it just kind of happens like that. But they were consistent the entire time. They were a really good program with some really high highs. And I think Nebraska can be a really consistent program who is pretty much always in the NCAA tournament.
Will Dylan Raiola thrive in Oregon?
He has to. We'll have to see how he takes this year, how he does this year, being the backup, getting humbled a little bit, and embracing his role. But I also think he has to really listen to his coaches and have that real desire to get better. And maybe this year provides that perspective for him as he sits as a backup. If he's able to do this, I mean, he's really talented. So my gut says the talent will win out. But we'll see. I mean, if he ends up transferring again or something like that, you just don't know where it's going to end up going. My gut would be that he has success. How good is he? I don't know. Maybe he's never going to be as good as what everybody thought he was going to be. But that doesn't mean he can't be good.
What are your thoughts on the Big Red rebuild of Memorial Stadium, which is practically the renovations that they're doing to the south side?
They're really cool. I think it's something on half of it that they just needed to do because of the age of the stadium, right? And some of the things that the amenities and stuff like that were already going on in South Stadium that they needed to improve upon. So a lot of the project is that, and then you got an opportunity to start anew in that South Stadium, and I think people, as much trepidation as there is for people who have been going to games in that side of the field for a really, really long time, and they're like, we just don't like change, they're going to like it. Now, it gets hard because there's going to be a year at least where it's, there's not going to be anybody sitting over there, right? It'll be different. So people will start to ask, is this worth it? And I do think the answer is absolutely yes. Like it will be really, really sharp when it's done. And the ease of getting into the stadium and seeing a game there will be so much better. But it's hard to tell people that because it's going to be really difficult for the next couple of years until it's done, right? There will be so much going on.
I despise that we're going to lose 10,000 seats because we're going to go from 90,000 to 80,000, which I think because that would take us off of the top 10 biggest college football stadiums. I believe, I could be wrong, but no, I'm just not a big fan of that. But does it need to be done? I do believe so.
Yeah, I think I'm honestly surprised that they didn't bump the capacity down a little bit lower. I'm surprised that they didn't end up taking out more seats, to be honest with you. And so I don't know that the name of the game anymore is having the biggest stadium, right? It's having a stadium that is comfortable for the people who want to go there and buy season tickets and make them want to come back. Now, at the same time, in order to do all that, you have to win football games. That's mostly what people want to see when they go to Memorial Stadium. They don't necessarily care all that much about how comfortable they are if the team is winning games. So it would help to have that too.
Only one Husker football player, Emmett Johnson, was drafted in the 5th round on day 3 of the NFL draft. He was the only Husker football player drafted. Was that what you were expecting?
Yeah, I thought there was a chance that they could maybe get another one later. But you never know how things are going to go in those 6th and 7th rounds. They're kind of just taking flyers on guys. So not really a surprise that Emmett was the only one. Well deserved for him. Maybe went a little bit lower than people sort of thought that he was going to be, and certainly had a great year at Nebraska this past year. But yeah, it's kind of just that's how it's been, right? They're in the mix right now of getting 1 or 2 or max 3 guys drafted a year. You got to have some more. You got to win more games, obviously, in order to get more.
I'm happy that everyone else got like a signed deal or like a mini camp invite. That's
right.
Good to see. Like it's not like Emmett's the only Husker that's going to the NFL at the moment. But I also do want, if I had a hot take, my hot take before the draft was that Harburg would get drafted.
Ooh,
because he reminds me so much of Taysom Hill, number 7 with the New Orleans Saints.
definitely.
I see so much similarity in them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like you can put Heinrich at running back, fullback, like literally anywhere.
Did he didn't get a mini camp deal, did he?
As of yesterday, he has not.
Okay,
I know
wow.
Him and Rocco have not been picked up by a team yet.
Yeah, interesting. I do wonder if he ends up landing somewhere. Super versatile, really, really good athlete, could do a lot of different things. Probably just not enough on tape, right, to be able to take a chance. There's just so many qualified guys that go into the draft. So yeah, he was quite an athlete.
And then this is the most least hype offseason I've ever seen in my lifetime with Husker football.
Agreed.
Like we get a new quarterback and we're like, oh yeah, we're super excited. And people are like, I just hear crickets.
Yep.
So I want to know, could this be a good thing where Nebraska could just focus on practice and not social media and all that?
Definitely. It's something we talked about a bunch on our shows and on the podcasts and stuff like that. Not that it so negatively affects Nebraska football, but when you hear about yourself so often and every decision is so scrutinized and all those different things, like we were talking about a little bit before, guys see stuff on social media and coaches see stuff on social media and they're like, what are do we need to adjust things and change things? And do I need to go out there and talk about the narratives that people are talking about? So maybe that since there's just less chatter about it, like you said, and I agree, it will allow those guys to have the freedom to sort of, do it how they want to do it. It could help. Mostly what helps is not turning the ball over and getting some turnovers on defense and not committing penalties and stuff like that. So they got to do all that stuff right too.
Are you paying attention to the NBA playoffs right now?
Less than I want to, because here's the problem. I love the NBA playoffs, and I'm a Nuggets fan, and I have really, really gotten into them over the last handful of years since they've been really good. And the problem is the games are so late at night. The games start at like 9 o'clock, and I get a morning show. I'm up at 5 o'clock. I got to turn it in by like 10. I'm done. So, but I'll look at the scores when I go to bed, and they'll be what they are, and they'll be completely different the next morning. But yeah, once we get further down the line, I'll get into it more.
So you're rooting for the Nuggets, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Bulls fan, but we've been trash for a couple of years now. So as of right now, I'm rooting for Baylor Shireman and the Boston Celtics.
There you go.
I just want to know, I've been keeping up. I haven't watched Baylor live, like in a Celtics basketball game, because they're in Boston. They don't do local games like that here. So, but I'll keep up with him just because he's a former Blue Jay. He's from Aurora, Nebraska. So I just want to get your thoughts. Like, what have you taken so far with Baylor's second year in the NBA?
He's just he's the guy or a guy who will do kind of whatever is asked of him, right? And he could do so many things well on the basketball court on top of being a really good teammate and all those different things. It definitely wasn't a surprise to me that all of his teammates loved him, right away. That part we knew was going to happen. But maybe it has surprised me a little bit at how just productive he's been. I mean, he's been a really kind of important piece for them this year. But if you watch him at Creighton, that part probably isn't surprising either. He was awesome, and I thought him being a Celtic is pretty perfect, given how they seemingly always do pretty well with guys like that. Just gritty guys who will do whatever it takes. And Baylor's playing through a wrist or thumb injury, and he's doing the thumbs down thing. And not a surprise to see him doing well.
Have you been paying attention to the NHL playoffs?
No, okay. That's one where I have I'll watch the finals because the finals are always like kind of must-watch TV because the games are always so good. But I really don't know what's going on.
Neither do I, so I won't ask you anything about that then. I got 2 quick questions. Mentorship. Who are your mentors in the sport, whether it's EMCEE, sports radio, reporting, any of that? Who have been your sports mentors?
Man, I mean, there's. I think about the people who were at the Ticket in Lincoln when I was just, starting out, and so I mentioned, Lanny, who is not in radio anymore. He's actually, one of the smarter guys I know. He's a lawyer, and so he gave me or helped me out with the opportunity. Guys who were there at the time. John Gaskins, Mike Welch. You probably don't know these guys anymore. They've been out of the market for quite some time. But then once you're in the sports radio world, you at least here in Nebraska, you turn to 1620 The Zone, and so guys like Damon Benning and Gary Sharp and John Bishop, who I've had the chance to work with, all of those guys have been so helpful to me. And really, it's not like they pull you aside and say, "Hey, here's what you need to do." You just listen to them and you just learn from them. Now, luckily, like I said, I've gotten to be friends with all those guys, and so we could talk about whatever. But that's sort of how I have always approached that. I just want to listen to and learn from whoever I can, and so maybe that's even turning on a show in a different market. And I remember when the Royals were winning in 14 and 15. I would listen to like Kansas City sports talk every day because I just wanted to hear about the Royals every day. And a guy named Danny Parkins was doing the show doing the drive time show in Kansas City at the time with Carrington Harrison, who's still there. He's had me on his show a couple of times, and he does a fantastic job. Danny now he went to Chicago after that, and he now works for FS1 on one of their morning shows, one of the weirdly named morning shows at FS1. I always thought that he was such a great sports talk radio host. He's not my mentor, I don't know him, but I listen to him. And, maybe there's some people out there who listen to my style and say, man, I could kind of make that work or something like that. So there's just so many people that you get influence from and you don't even know it and you don't even realize it. And, that part of it is really cool.
If there's someone that's watching or listening to this interview right now and they want to be in your shoes, what is the number one piece of advice you would give them?
Say yes. I don't know. You maybe have heard that before. That's what I would, and I imagine that's a very similar story of a lot of people who are in the industry. You have an idea of how you want it to go or how you think it's going to go or what you want to do. And then at the same time, you're just trying to get your foot in the door in places. And so if you get an opportunity to do something, you say yes. You're like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll come. I've never done, the EMCEE at the Storm Chasers game. Let's try it. And then off of that, hey, would you like to EMCEE our Creighton volleyball games? Be the hype man for? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll whatever it takes. So maybe it leads you down some paths that you don't want to go down. And maybe, but that's the point, right? You get to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And I'm fortunate enough to do a lot of things that I really, really like doing. So that'd be my advice. Just say yes. Whatever opportunity comes across, say yes. It's part of the reason why I'm here right now. Absolutely. You asked, I said yes.
Which I appreciate. So if people want to follow you on Instagram or like want to follow you more just online or even like the radio show, where could they follow you and the radio show at?
Usually my handles for things I think are just at Connor Happer, CONNORHAPPER. That's Twitter, that's Instagram. Send an email to Connor@1620thezone.com. And then, daily 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone, where we're on YouTube, like I said, or on the radio or on the app or whatever it might be. And then the Locked On Pod, and then whichever sports game is happening near you. If you see me and you've heard this, come up to me and say, this is where you saw me or heard of me for the first time or whatever it might be. Be happy to meet.
I just realized we're both wearing a green hoodie. We're both wearing black sweatpants.
Both named Connor.
Both named Connor. This is insane. We did not plan this whatsoever. But Connor,
no, we actually called each other before. We were like, "Hey, let's wear green and wear these black sweatpants."
No, we actually never did that. That is a lie. That is false information. Never happened. Just a silly coincidence, obviously. But no, Connor, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you, Connor. Appreciate it.
I had a great time listening to your baseball stories and all the above. And College World Series is coming up. Baseball is about to end. College baseball is about to.
It's almost
the
time.
regular season is about to end. College World Series is coming up. That's what I was trying to say. And then, dude, there's just so much more to talk about with the future. But with the limited amount of time we have, and my storage on my phone, that's another problem. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.